Nur makes her move for Praetoria's secrets. Shapeshifters summoned from the plane of chaos feast on flesh and memories, while the mages of the Conclave Arcana scour the 7 territories. Few will stand against them, but it won't be enough. That's where you come in. You and your cards. Like all new archons that grant you dominion over bloodlines. Dwarves, elves, gnomes, orcs, and Lund. Craft midnight potions in the Artisan Quarter for a shot at new ultra-rare foils. Flex your collection in battle and earn bigger rewards. The Conclave Arcana awaits. Do you have what it takes?
Hello everyone, welcome to the next Splinterlands Town Hall. It is March 19th, 2026. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to apologize for the last minute change of time. That's my fault. I am apparently very bad at scheduling. But I talked to Dave about it. We decided it would be better to change the time to earlier than to postpone to another day. So thank you to everyone for being okay with the new time and joining us here. And I apologize for anyone that can't make it. You'll be able to see the recording or the recap later on. So first and foremost, before we kind of get into everything, we made an announcement this morning that Dave McCoy, our very own Dave McCoy, who we love, has taken over the position of CEO of the company for me. And then I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. And I am going to finally be able to hopefully really just get back into focusing on game design and product development type stuff. This shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody. This was kind of the plan from the beginning of bringing Dave on. We brought him on. It's been a year already since Dave started. He's done a fantastic job in that time. So we figured after a year of him, kind of showing us what he could do, it was time to make it official and have him run the show. I really appreciate him doing that. As you guys know, it's just not my forte. all the business stuff, the arguing, the kind of fighting over bills and whatnot. Dave says a lot that I'm too nice, which is true. And when you're kind of leading an organization like this from a business end, you got to be not nice a lot of times, especially to like external vendors and big companies that you're working with that unfortunately seem to try to take advantage of us, at every opportunity. So, Dave's been a super valuable asset in just like going to bat for Splinterlands, making sure we don't get taken advantage of, making sure we're, squeezing every drop out of every DEC that we have, and just being on top of all the unfortunate crap that you have to deal with as a company these days in the world, which, I very much appreciate. So, realistically for all of our players and community members, there should be no noticeable change here. Dave's kind of been taking over a lot of this stuff for a while now. So it'll be business as usual. It's just, been made official, now going forward. So, thank you, Dave. I think the community's all very excited that you're here and continuing to do this. Let us know if you have anything to say or if you want to address the community about that.
Well, thank you, Matt. Like you said, it's not really a big change for me, but I certainly appreciate the respect, that you're showing, and put me in this spot. As well, I also want to let everybody know, like, the announcement was short and to the point, but I would like to say that, the job you did in terms of, every time you, not just in the beginning, but ever since I've been here, I mean, you've been the guy that, I think most people, have really appreciated, like they trust you, they believe you're always trying to do the right thing. And like in that that announcement we said you were the glue, and I think that's definitely the case. Like I don't think we would be here if it wasn't for you. And I agree in that you're really nice and don't like the conflict that comes with some of the business type you know confrontations. But you did it, and hat tip to you. I don't really even think anybody understands just how hard it is. Um, and it's really not something you wanted to do or like to do, but you did it. And I just think, massive amount of respect to you for that, Matt. So we wouldn't even be here, without that. So thank you as well.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. Now you get to deal with all the crap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun. So yeah, I mean, as far as everything else going forward, I mean, it really doesn't change. I've been working with the devs, with the team, with all the different, pieces of the business on a regular basis now for a year. So I don't think any of them are surprised, and or concerned or worried it's going to be business as usual. So
Yep.
I'm looking forward at what we can do going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, me as well. So speaking on what we're doing going forward, let's jump over to Investigator to give us the development update.
Good morning. So as we head into the end of the first quarter for 2026, the next big change coming out is going to be the Guild Lending Library. So it's going to be a new guild building that acts as a kind of layer on top of the delegation system. So you can just put cards into the library for other people in your guild to borrow, and they can come in and borrow cards, take cards out and get them delegated to themselves. We're going to have 5 different levels, but everyone's going to get a level 1 library for free. So you'll be able to put in 20 cards per guild member. And then if you want to get more cards per guild member, you can level it up, which is just going to be guild power, GP donations. So that should be coming out soon. We're also, for anyone that's been reading the patch notes, doing a lot of cleanup of kind of issues from the new escalation abilities and some odd interactions or unintended interactions, as well as there's been a number of cleanups done to the leaderboard to add display by rating for all users for the old ranking style. We are overhauling survival rewards once again per the latest proposal that passed. So we're going to pause the SPS rewards and introduce glint rewards as well as some other rewards. Add a leaderboard or leaderboard prizing. Let's see. The next set of voucher cards is coming out in the next update. I think everybody's probably seen the countdown on Cloveria. So she'll be rotating out, and we'll be getting the first multi set of voucher cards per the proposal from last year to do multiple voucher cards at the same time. The conflict is going to be ending around the end of the month, so we'll be getting out the next card relatively soon. We'll probably get to post up about that before too long, I imagine, from Blaze. Let's see, we got a lot of stuff that coming into this month. The playable landcrafted cards that have previously been announced will be coming out at the end of the month. As well as a holiday event for the next major holiday should be coming soon. And yeah, that's the short-term stuff. As Dave has talked about before, we're looking at adding kind of a daily login wheel spin. That should be coming out a little later. And we've got a number of other projects that are cooking in the background that'll come out at some point a little later this year. Any other short-term stuff worth mentioning? We are looking at updating tournaments so that we can run official tournaments that give out glint prizing, so that Clay doesn't need to only reward SPS or other items. We'll set it up so that it can distribute glint from the internal reward system. And yeah, a lot of community rule sets are still going to be rolling out throughout the next several months. The next one will be interesting.
Tell them what it is.
I think that one should be a surprise.
It has something to do with the extravaganza.
No, but it's probably going to come out the 1st of April.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that one. Cool.
So that'll be a fun one. And yeah, we've got some longer term, or when bandwidth permits, we want to do some things like making transferable spellbook tokens that you can purchase and send to other people. I know we did that with the Winterfest gift boxes, but we want to make that just a actual, you can purchase a spellbook for somebody else and send it to them. Yeah, and there's a lot of cleanup and other things that we're hoping to get to as time permits, but we've got a lot of projects, so we'll do our best to continue to move the project forward. And I know we've got some things that we will probably be announcing maybe next town hall, but I'll leave that to Dave and Blaze to talk about further when they want to.
Yeah, one thing, Gator, that just throw in, Crypto Mancer had a family emergency. I know he put out a presentation there. So on land, that will have a little bit, most things were moving, pretty quick. On land, we are going to have a pause there just because he had a family emergency. And, he's doing all the back end. So it doesn't make any sense, to try to bring somebody else up on that. So there will be, 2-3 week, kind of pause there just to let everybody know.
Just for the land building stuff, right? Not the cards.
Yeah.
There may be other things that happen around land that are not things that Mancer is working on, but for the land 2.0, that will be on hold for a couple of weeks while he deals with a family emergency.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but these things happen.
Yep, we're human and we do have lives. So, he had a pretty big emergency in his family.
But going on to lighter things, thank you, investigator, for running down the long. I feel like it's like longer every time, the list of stuff, which is good. But hopefully, I don't know. And the team keeps getting through everything more and more and more. So awesome job on all that stuff. But let's jump over to Blaze. How are things going from the marketing, promotion, community side?
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Yeah. Nate, I think I know why you put the tentacles in the escalation, because that's how everybody feels around here. We're just doing so many things and we're all over the place. But the community is as well. They're just lighting it up on Twitch and X, and we're getting attention. I'm getting all the DMs from the KOLs saying they're going to bring their professional, gaming report and talk about Splinterlands. And anyways, all kinds of stuff going on in the DMs, people wanting to connect up with us, that names that I haven't seen in a while coming back, looking to play Splinterlands. So I'm guiding them in the right direction of how we work, and working with some streamers and everything slowly on the back end. Just one of many things, but McVeer, Ime, Lady Sharon, OFG, all you guys. Now Jeff opens cards. I'm behind on so many things. Like, I haven't watched his pack openings, but the pack openings have been insane. Really cool cards being pulled. Congrats to the community, to the DAO, to the team for the sale of Conclave Arcana. It was a huge success. But glad to see everybody ripping packs and chasing those black foils and arcanes and so on. So that's why we put them in there. Next set's probably going to be even more exciting and with some more variety to switch things up. But it's super cool to see everybody having fun there. In regards to everything else up and coming, we have a lot, like Harry said. I think he listed, Matt, you say that's a large list, but I think that's not even 30-40% of it. But we do have so many things in the pipeline. Those triple voucher cards are going to be cool. FYI, I did do an update on the post. We edited the dates. So Josh wanted to shift around the dates a little bit to make things easier. So I have updated the post. I'll post it somewhere again. So you guys can see the new dates. The GFAs for the commons are going to start a little earlier. So take note. Let's see, what else do we have going on? The land cards, those are going to be super fun too. And I had mentioned that Saurian's going to be a huge surprise in the next conflict card. So that card is going to be a fun card to play with Grix and so on. It's going to be, you're just now starting to see all the combos come together and cards that haven't been played and cards from Escalation that again, nobody really knows their full potential because Brave the Bull isn't out and Mancer's card isn't out that Nate's going to be showing off here soon. But gameplay wise, I think we're doing very well. It's fun, exciting. Like Harry said on the modifiers, we're going to have new modifiers come in and it's going to start changing things up there too. We might even pump out a little more than usual for the modifiers to switch up the fun. What else do we have going on? Numbers. Let me pull up some numbers here. Total sales with DC at PEG, 4.28 million for CA core set with 3,094 accounts participating. And the last 30 days, we had a push of about 300,000 at PEG. So really good numbers to close out the sale. Packs were fun. We had, let's see, standard packs was 311,000. Alchemy packs, 187,000 packs sold. Starter packs, 159,000 packs sold. And then the legendaries were at 26,000 packs sold. In regards to the purchase types, we had the credits around 966,000 in credits, and then 3.31 million in DEC. So good numbers, great sale. Looking forward to the next one. Escalation's live. If you guys haven't got your escalation packs, head on over to the shop. Get those while they're still around, because remember, the escalation cards aren't going to be as large of a set as the CA. So there's a lot of good deals on the secondary market if you're looking to go that route, and then the packs are still available. So get your packs. Let's see, numbers as far as in players, we've had some good stuff going on with Clink. We're fine-tuning some details, but we're looking forward to kicking on some good incoming streams for new players. We're working on some campaigns and such and making great progress there. I will drop the numbers for, let me drop the numbers for the total here in the town hall. Here's from the season before, 177, and then here's the season, the last season that closed of 178. And those are the active numbers, so you can see what's happening there from the player standpoint.
Blaze, is there a way to enlarge? Right now you have the voucher cards as enlarged rather than the other share.
Yeah. No, when I'm moving
there
around,
we go.
And really quick, as I'm moving around, I'm getting set up. Ron wasn't able to make it, so I am hosting the stream here. So I only have one monitor right now, and it's a little chaotic here, but there you go. But yeah, that's what's happening. And also, in addition, we've closed 2 new partnerships. One with a blockchain that'll be announced in the near future, and then one with someone we worked with in the past, but we have some big plans, and that's going to be rolling out tomorrow. So get ready for some announcements there with some new partnerships, and really excited where we're going with things. I think everybody I remember After Sound talking about all kinds of things of what we're going to do. And I think he'll really like these new partnerships along with the community of what we have going on. So thanks everybody for getting this all together and being patient. But this 2026 is going to be our year. We have the game at a good place. We have the community at a great place. We have stuff to buy. We have more stuff coming. Yeah, like Carrie mentioned with the spell books, we're going to have all kinds of other options coming along down the pipeline, and super excited. So
yeah, thanks, Blaze. I forgot to mention at the beginning, since I made us change the time at the last minute, Ron couldn't be available to do this, so Blaze stepped up. So we have a low frills version of the town hall. But hey, you still getting all the content, and that's what's important. So thank you, Blaze, for stepping up and setting this all up.
No problem.
For today.
Do they still get to see the picture of us on YouTube? I haven't been able to look.
Yeah, they can see you. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So no picking your nose or anything.
If I do anything crazy, all right.
Yeah, we're just not in our card frames.
Yeah.
But it'll be all right. All right. Well, last but not least, what do you got for us today, Nate?
Well, let's see. I got to figure out how to share my screen on this thing. Let's see if I can figure that out. We were practicing before this started. This is cool because usually I just drop photos into the Discord, but sharing my screen, it opens up a world of possibility. Let's see. So we'll get this, and then we'll go over to, let's see. All right. Are you guys able to see my my cloud files by chance?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. So these are kind of the topics I was thinking of going through. We could start off. I don't know. I guess we could start off at the top, the wheel spin stuff. Now, what's cool about being able to share my screen rather than just drop in images is that I can literally just like open up the software that we use to make the stuff. For example, here is this is Figma. This is what we usually use for UX and UI work. That's a glimpse of some of the UX work we were working on to kind of work on the daily wheel spin stuff. And this is now you get to see right there. It's like this is the stuff that we kind of work on. This is HTT is his username in Discord. He is our UI designer, and he put in a lot of hard work getting these design specs made. But as you can see, you can kind of zoom in, and we could see, hey, this is a little widget's going to pop up on the Frontier format, so you can kind of see your daily streak when you click on that. You get a little animation, and you get to see, hey, what's going on. I'm on day 28 or day whatever it is, and what does that mean for you? It means you get to spin the wheel, and here you get a glimpse of what that looks like, along with some of these mysterious icons. What do they mean, and what are the amounts? You spin the wheel, and maybe you receive some spark, a new currency specifically for this project. Maybe you get something else, and then you enter. And just in case you didn't notice, we were theming this wheel spin to kind of tie in with our old buddy, our old friend Lux Vega. So if you guys recall, she's the only neutral Archon in the entire game. She was quite the promotion, and if you own one of those, then good for you. I'm sure she's causing havoc in Wild. But this is an opportunity to enter her actual stagecoach and enter the dream portal world. So when you enter this pocket dimension, you're spinning wheels, and it's very much like entering the fantasy version of Vegas. So what you end up with is, let's see what we got here. One of the things you might win. So let's say it lands on this little symbol on the wheel. Well, you get a pit challenge. And I shared some of this stuff over on the previous town hall, but since then we've been able to further refine it. I think I had some sketches on this screen, and now we got some fully rendered art. So you can choose, hey, do I want the easy, medium, or hard opponent? Once you go ahead and select who it is that you want, then you end up on a screen like this, where you could say, okay, I could see the stats ahead of time. And you'll notice that the frame looks slightly different. We're still working on the bottom portion of the frame. That is something we're working on this week or next week to kind of further differentiate this from other cards. But you'll notice instead of a full frame, a lot of it is you see the edges of the card, and there's no border there to kind of imply that, hey, this is not a normal card. In fact, it's not a card at all. It's you're using your cards to summon manifestations to battle this pit fighter. Who is this guy? And so you choose your team. If you want to remember the stats while you're selecting the team, if you guys recall the team build screen up here in the upper left-hand corner, there is typically a little icon that you could click to see previously played teams from your opponent. In this case, you'll click on that to be able to see the stats. So, and say, oh yeah, that's right. That's the kind of team I want to make. And then bam, you're in what we're, basically boss mode. Matt was asking earlier, hey, how's the progress on that? And a lot of what we're doing with this pit fighter scenarios over in the wheel spin is going to pave the way, be the template for what we're going to do for boss fights. So that's an example of one of the pit fighters that you might be up against. And here's a mobile screen of that. So that's fun. And then of course you got the other bosses there. There's 3 of them: easy, medium, and hard, like I said. So I think that's pretty cool that I can show you guys some of this stuff right there in the Figma software, rather than just showing some screenshots. And you can kind of get a glimpse of what the devs see when they click on some of these elements. They see, what's the color values, so they can code it and implement it properly. What is the margins and the padding? So I can go ahead and click on various keys to get that information. So yeah, there's that. And then what else is dealing with wheel spin? I will say, there's skins. Some of the rewards might be skins. So we can take a look at that. Here are some examples of that. Like I said, it's themed to be in Lux Vegas Stagecoach through the Dream Portal. And so a lot of the skins are going to reflect that theme. So there's the strong man, and you get this very carnival-like thematic elements, aesthetics to the characters. So if you win one of those, that'll be pretty cool. What else can we talk about? Let's see. We did the wheel spin, voucher cards. I thought that would be fun to kind of share some wallpapers. So we have, of course, our Lorne, who is this tree folk who just got empowered, just kind of got juiced up because a dragon eons ago had died, and its magical carcass kind of sank into the ground, and he took root in that spot, and he ended up as a more powerful entity than what he was. So I think that guy's pretty cool. We have, of course, this guy's nuts. He gets the Greyhammer Painsmith. He gets powered up through pain, which is a little terrifying. And then, of course, you got Conjurous Hubris, which is a reflection of a conjurer who does something crazy and says, "Hey, I'm going to summon a water elemental and a fire elemental at the same time," and then they get merged together and kind of go Frankenstein on their conjuring. And what typically ends up happening in that situation is they wake up. This Frankenstein's monster just wakes up in extreme pain and anguish because they weren't meant to be like that, stitched together like that. So typically, the first thing they do is go after and and annihilate the conjurer that summoned them from their planes of existence as revenge. So there's a little backstory to some of the characters. These things will be in the community folder after the town hall. We'll kind of move them there, and we'll kind of glimpse at that before I'm done. News. I thought this was cool. For the news stuff, we have we wanted to do this way back when we revamped the homepage actually. So it's been some time, and we had these a lot of the foundation of the UI made in order to kind of integrate news and updates more seamlessly into the website. And now we're finally, blowing the dust off that stuff and say, hey, let's get back to it. I know that some of the players in the community on the UX Discord kind of mentioned it a little bit, I think, and then Blaze, and so there's been some people championing it returning. Excuse me. So that's what this looks like, is being able to go to news and updates there right there within the website. And when you click on one of these, you can go ahead and see that update right there within the website. I know we'll probably continue to have blog posts. We'll continue to have all the different media channels that we already have. But in addition, sorry about that, my throat. But in addition to that, we'll be able to have this as well. So that'll be cool. Including maybe a town hall. Maybe, I don't know if we'll be able to, but if so, it would be cool to have embedded there within the website, town halls. Let's see what else we got. Let's talk about the conflict card. Or actually, I don't know. That might be the finale event, right? We have Extravaganza coming out, which is our Easter event. I thought it'd be fun to share some of that stuff. So we have stuff like very pastel looking skins to kind of showcase someone who's kind of like, looking rather dapper, going out for the day, doing something fancy. So, there's Sylphie, and this was Ulandin Overseer, I believe. And then we got those are pastel skins. We also have, of course, our premium skins for Extravaganza. They're going to be called Bunified because, of course, we are going to bunify them. So then you're going to get the Easter eggs and the bunnies popping up everywhere and funny stuff like that. And these are going to be hard to get. But for those who are lucky enough to get Bunified skins, you will be one of those lucky people who have something that very few have.
Those look great, Nate.
Thank you. I don't know what's wrong with my throat.
Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated there.
Yeah. Let's talk about. Oh, I think Harry mentioned the guild building. I could share a little bit about that. So here's an example of what we're doing. Is I realize that the guild buildings look different than the land buildings, and we're trying to fix that, starting with this one. So even though we're not retroactively at this point in time going back and changing the aesthetics of all the previous guild buildings, we do intend to do so. And we do intend to do so like this. So here's level 1 library building, and it'll level up to eventually look a little bit more impressive. So there's an example of a guild library at its maximum level. So very similar to land. We'll eventually get that same treatment applied to all the guild buildings. So that's cool. And then speaking of land, maybe I think we mentioned how Cryptomancer might need a pause for a couple of weeks, but I don't want the community thinking, oh no, all land is completely paused, the brakes are done, and we're not going to see any movement. Don't worry. I mean, it's not like no designs getting done. In fact, we're going to take the opportunity to try to, race ahead of Cryptomancer a little bit. And since I'm in share screen mode, why not, share some of the stuff that's very TBD. It's very much in progress. It's all wireframes, but it's stuff we talk about internally on LAN meetings that we have each week. So just to give you a glimpse of, let me see. So this is a good example of like a lot of the wireframes that we're working on to try to make land. To me, this was a big one. Is how do we make land more responsive? And what I mean by that is, how much can you really do with land on your mobile device? That's always been a weakness for land, and this was my attempt to kind of wireframe out some solutions on what could we do to address that. What could we do to make it to where maybe it is possible to where we could take all this complexity of land and somehow streamline it to where it's actually intuitive on a mobile device. Is that impossible? Is that something we could actually accomplish? So whether we get to this or not, again, TBD. Whether it looks like anything like these wireframes, TBD. I don't know. It's in progress. But while Cryptomancer is addressing his real life, other things, creative will be hard at work trying to figure out like, okay, what could we do to be prepared for Cryptomancer coming back so he can hit the ground running and really build some traction there. So one thought was a dashboard with widgets, customizable, so that you can change how the widgets work. Another challenge we had was how do we add so many more resources to the game and still have it intuitive? Because that secondary nav at the top is just overrun. You just can't handle anymore. And so we were thinking, okay, maybe collapsible categories, maybe, make it so that you can have dozens and dozens of different kinds of resources in different ways. So these are just examples of kind of behind the scenes, if you want a glimpse behind the curtain at some of the things we're working on to try to make land more scalable, more responsive, so that when we start working on Land 2.0 in a very real way on the front end, Cryptomancers, we're doing a lot of back end work, but when it gets to the front end part, what can we do to kind of like, up the ante a little bit? And then, of course, you got the UX buildings. This is kind of like what it looks like when we're trying to generate a UX flow. What is it? How do what is it that we're going to tackle one piece at a time? And then eventually we moved to wireframes before we moved to high fidelity UI specs. So this is, these are, again, more example of wireframes that we're working on. This one is for, I think, kind of revamping some of the how to select a building, because we need more options for more buildings. And how do we at a glance know what the benefits are of choosing those buildings? And once you choose them, what are the costs involved in that? So there's a lot of that stuff going on. In addition to leveling up buildings, worker slots, work orders that are both new and in progress. So, I'm not going to sit here and explain all this. I could take up a whole town hall just talking about what all these wireframes mean. But I think it's fun to kind of show this stuff to you guys in a way that I typically wouldn't be able to without the share screen. So I thought I would take advantage.
I think Gold Matters will have all this on little clips on Twitter. So if you want to see in depth Gold Matters, I'm sure we'll put a whole bunch of clips together. So just check out our Twitter.
Nice.
And follow Gold Matters at Gold Matters.
And Dave, he'll clip that too.
Yeah, true. It's cool.
Let's see what else we got. We went through all I think we're at the grand finale. So
that
leads us to the final conflict of Conclave Arcana.
It's a big one. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's Dragon Lord Mancer. We had fun with the art. So Cryptomancer, he definitely had some fun with it. Here is essentially the blog header that is going to be on the announcement that Blaze gives in a little bit, actually. And as you can see, he went to town on his character. He has little dragons on his shoulders, a magic sword. One of his hands, I don't know if it's chopped off or not, but it got replaced with some kind of crazy dragon fire cannon or something. He kept his glasses.
Yeah, that dragon hand
real
reminds me of
about the whole situation.
There's one boss in Elden Ring that has like a dragon hand, I think.
Oh, nice. Okay, maybe that was the inspiration. And if you guys want to know the stats when I first saw them, I was like, whoa, that is a grand finale of a card. So
They
here's
haven't seen these yet, by the way. Boom.
there it is. So as you can see at max level.
Do we need a spilled the beans animation?
Yeah, there you go. The bead animation. So, just like all the other Archons, it can summon a couple of bloodlines, give them scavenger. But the big bang here, the big wham, is like, crap, you could get not 1, 2 units on the team. Bloodlust and corrupted healing, that's insane. So there you go. I'm sure Blaze can speak. Blaze was an integral part of the testing, along with our other testers and our NDA player testers. So maybe he could speak to some of the meta and the strategies involved with this. But I can only imagine, right? So I think I'll leave it at that for the creative.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be streaming and talking about all that. And just FYI, the other race is Bruteborn. So it's Saurian and Bruteborn are the bloodline dominions.
Blaze, can you give a little bit of color on the card?
Yeah, you need to have it. I mean, it's the card to have. I mean, it is so fun. Yeah, it's a one that I was super excited about. I mean, between this one and Brave, we put a lot of work into it just to get the synergies going, and then also bringing in cards to help balance it out, and like that the new land card that's coming out. There's just so many combos to play that I think you guys are seeing it on the battlefield now. Again, Bloodline Pack, nobody's really leaning into that, but that is super powerful. You see Portia get juiced up to like 17, 18 damage. Bob's Wheel goes right out the chart after 2 rounds because commons, doesn't matter what the card is, if you're playing it right, they can really get juiced up. But this one here, I'll give you guys a tip with Zarin. If you guys don't have Zarin, you can put her in the second position and she's got camouflage. You drop Bloodlust and corrupted healing on her, it just becomes insane. So anyways, and then there's cards with like Echo, and there's just so many things to do. And remember, it goes dragon, right? And then you can go into any element, and then you have the bloodline. So it just gets absolutely crazy. Yeah, between this one and Brave the Bull coming out, you're going to see CA in its full glory. That said, almost full glory, because we have 6 more Archons coming with Escalation. And those are super exciting as well. So another thing is all the cards you're going to see, like even a Wild, you go play Wild and you go play this card with like Grund. It's so fun. I'm playing manually when I can. I mentioned it in the last town hall, I think too, but it is so fun. Jangles and I will start streaming again. He's been a little busy, but yeah, it's hours and hours of entertainment. And that's the thing. I myself, I'm truly excited about this card here, but the game itself, just the gameplay is so fun. When I bring people in and show them the game, they get excited too, because we just have so many fun things happening in game. Just that whole Painforge mechanic, right? On how it works. When you get Equalizer going, how you can really power things up. This one here with Equalizer is insane too, because you have the corrupted healing and you can just really, really have a lot of fun. And then it's strategic at the top levels. Even if you get a 12-mana match, I just watched one recently with 2 of the top players, and it was a 12-mana match, and they had a full squad because they had Eleanor and everything working with the Fiends. But yeah, you bring this card into the mix, and it's hours and hours of entertainment. So,
all right.
One last thing: the packs are no longer available on the market. You're going to have to get them on the secondary market, right? So if you're not participating in the conflicts, hope that somebody with the mega stack drops them on the secondary for you, but they won't be out there long. So yeah, either A, get some legendary packs there to boost your chances, or participate in the wagons. Go pick up some cheap cards on the marketplace to load up the wagons. And yeah, use this time wisely to get ready for that card.
Yeah, that's a good point. Obviously, that some people may forget is that these cards, when they're released, they're not just airdropped, but they're also available in the packs. So I know a number of people, myself included, I got a bunch of extra packs before the sale ended. I was going to try to wait till the last conflict card is out, just to maximize what I'm able to get. And everyone can still go into the conclave arcana section to see how many prizes are still available, how many packs are unopened. I mean, the chances of getting the jackpot prizes from the conclave arcana packs are like super high. I think it's like something like less than 1 in 40, I think, for a standard pack, and then divide by 3 for alchemy, divide by 6 for legendary. So yeah, you open a few legendary packs, you're gonna probably get a jackpot and maybe one of the new Dragon Lord Mancers. So I think it'll still be exciting to see how many packs are opening and seeing the pop-ups with who's getting what cards over the coming next couple months. All righty. Thanks everyone on the team for kind of going through the ridiculous list of stuff that's happening. As for myself, I saw some people ask here and there, what is my focus going to be on? Hopefully now that I'm not dealing with so much crap for a day-to-day basis. And it's going to be similar to the stuff I've been talking about on the past town halls, more the higher level, larger projects that we have planned that are still on our roadmap for this year. You guys saw some of the boss battle stuff that Nate's working on, and that's planning to be initially implemented for the daily wheel spin concept. But I want to expand that into more single player campaigns. With instead of just one quick battle with a boss, if you're a wheel spin every once in a while, it's a daily thing that you can do and work at, and have specific prizes as a full-fledged campaign. And then we've been talking about for a long time guild overhaul. So the guild library building is great. We just decided to get that out earlier without waiting for the whole thing to be done, but I need to get back in there and just really figure out how we're going to integrate guilds with everything else in the game. Not just like land and things for the existing players, but also like that's, again, in my opinion, one of the biggest ways to retain new players is get them in a guild and make sure they're able to be really productive and helpful, even at very low levels, even if they're just in frontier mode. And they don't have a lot of cards, they should be able to really make a difference in a guild. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to design there. And even though I have a lot of the high level concepts already designed, we've talked about the new Guild Brawls concept, which I think is going to be awesome. It's really like the 10,000 little details of how everything's going to work that I unfortunately have not been able to focus on nearly as much as I would have wanted to, but I hopefully will be able to now. There's also, land buildings. We have the kind of high level design. This is how buildings will work. Nate showed you a lot of the workflows and everything. Mancer has already started on building that out, but a lot of the actual details are not in place yet. What are all the buildings? What are the costs? How exactly do they work? How much do they produce? All that stuff. So we need to get into all that. What is it? Land, campus. Yeah, I think those are probably the big major projects that we'd like to get done this year. At a minimum, I'm sure there's going to be a million more things. But for those of you who are wondering, that is what I hope that I can really focus on, here on out. Thanks to Dave. All right. Is there anything we're forgetting about? Anything we should talk about before we jump to Q&A time? I can't imagine there's too much.
Yeah, let me mention the survival mode changes that are coming. So that's going to happen next season. There was a a DAO vote that passed pretty solidly, 80+%. So the SPS is not going to be put into survival mode, season 4 for a while. The team is going to have the ability to experiment and iterate and make, like for instance, we may change brackets, we may change rules of how they're pay. There's going to be changes that are going to be made, and those changes may need to be changed. So everybody doesn't need to freak out about every single change. The idea is to find something that works, and when something's not working, you got to not be afraid to make changes. So that's one thing that I believe in is, it's not going to be perfect. For instance, liquidity bots, they're too strong in some spots, too weak in other spots, blah, blah, blah. So, essentially we're going to be changing up stuff. We're going to be adding new things in to see if it's motivating, right? The goal is to have a lot of people playing the mode, not just to have a few people playing the mode. So we're going to do things like a leaderboard for all the brackets. So there will be, spots that, not only will you get paid, if you, do well, right? You also get paid depending on how you rank, right? So it'll be to your incentive to want to be higher and and play. Like I said earlier, the other thing is we're going to have a tournament, I forget the name of it, but like a season championship type thing. So at the end, after the season, we'll see who the top 25 were in each bracket. Each of those 25 people will essentially be invited into a big tournament that will be a ghost card tournament where everybody will have every card in whatever Clay comes up with. So for instance, the first one may be everything. The next one may be Chaos Legion Rebellion. The next one may be, Beta and Conclave Arcana. Like it's whatever Clay wants as the DAO. And that'll be a big, is kind of like a championship in golf or bowling or any of the other type tournaments. Like, the top 25 people get a chance to, get into this next thing. So that's almost like a qualifier to see who's, good. We will have some strict rules where you can only play one account per person, per household, per, IP address, blah, blah, blah. In other words, it's meant to see who's good. It's meant as an individual thing where you get to show off what you're doing. So you may be a champion player, you may be a novice player, you may be a diamond level player, whatever. You're going to be able to go up head to head with the same cards, and really see who's the best on a season basis. Then we're going to do other stuff like we're going to test cards, throwing cards as prizes in there as well to motivate. So we're going to create at least one card, see how that's motivating. If that's motivating, then I'm sure we can do more over time.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah. On that note, we are a TCG game. We love cards. The creativity that we've had with the jackpots and so on, everybody's really liking that, and it gives us something to chase. And implementing those cards in those tournaments, I think those tournaments are going to be fun. Number one, it's like winning a $2 satellite in poker and then playing in a big event off of that, that entry. And you're just going to have a combo and ghost cards. Everybody's going to have the same cards. And then when we will include, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to really like that, including a card as the prize. That'll give people more incentive to go chase, because we can all buy SPS right now. If that's the only reward, it's good, but adding cards is where the excitement is, I think. So.
Yep, and then we'll also be doing a version of the fortune draws at some point. Not we only had 2 weeks to make the change, so the things that are done the first week, won't be all the things we'll ever do. It's just what we can do, right? So we're trying to honor the community's request, and iterate on it and try to find a way to make it more fair, more fun, more people want to play the mode. And if we can figure out how to get it right, then it's a tremendous win. So that's the goal, to continue to experiment and iterate and see what we come up with. So I'm looking forward to it. That's it, Matt.
All right, that's it. We're done.
Yep.
You guys are cut off. No more new stuff.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Blaze or someone, go ahead and post in Discord to start the Q&A. Oh, there you go. Okay. Investy was on top of things as usual. So feel free to go and post your questions. And then, as with last time and probably going forward, Dave, you take it from here, lead the Q&A section, and I'll
All right. Happy to do so. So before the thing Gator just posted, I'm going to go back to Weagle, who had a question back on the 11th, so like 8 days ago. And the question is, and it's long, so I'm not going to read it all, but it's essentially, since the DAO has the packs, and they got a bunch of Rebellion packs, they got Conclave Arcana packs, blah, blah, blah. He wanted to know, essentially, what are the thoughts on enabling us to sell some of those packs to increase the DAO's funding. Make a long story short, that's up to the DAO. Whatever the community wants to do. I would suggest on things like that you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm happy to be involved in any discussion about anything. So let's say you're kind of a lone soldier out there and you don't really know anybody. Feel free to get a hold of me, say, hey, I got this idea. How do I get a hold of people? And then I'll figure out who I can connect you to, and then let you guys go off and talk. So Weagle, I think your idea was pretty cool about having like pack shards as prizes and things like that. And I have had quite a few people that have asked me stuff like that. But again, this isn't a company decision. This is really a DAO decision. I'm happy to be like a quarterback, and connect everybody, or more like a point guard and connect everybody. But it's really a DAO decision. So, anybody else want to comment on that here?
Yeah, it's really important. I'm going to keep saying this over and over, that people understand the distinction between the DAO and the company. They're separate organizations. I equate them to something like a sports league and a players union. There's Major League Baseball, and there's the Major League Baseball Players Association. So they're two separate independent organizations, but obviously they work closely together. So for all stuff like that, we're happy to give our thoughts and opinions as DAO members ourselves. But otherwise, it's not only not up to us, but not something we spend our time working on or thinking about generally as we're working on the product.
Okay. All right. And before the questions, there were some asked. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them. So Matt, this one's for you. Said, Matt, what are your views of the majority of scholars farming the high-end leagues and dumping the SPS? Specifically, your views on investment returns for passive whales versus the long-term appeal of holding SPS for smaller players.
Well, okay, so it sounds like there's a few things in here.
Right.
So the view of scholars, farming rewards and selling SPS.
Yes.
That's just part of how the system works. Not all players, whether they're scholars or not, will earn SPS from playing from their assets and can choose whether they hold it or sell it. I guess I don't really focus on that as much as just, if we can make the product better, we make more people, whoever they are, want to put more money into the product, that will help all the tokens and everything, regardless of what people decide to do. If people want to sell, then there'll be more people looking to buy them to get the things in the game, or it'll encourage people who were previously selling to maybe hold on because they want to get stuff in the game. So, it's up to everybody what they want to do with their tokens, whether they want to hold them, you spend them, or sell them. But we just focus on making a product that people want to keep playing and putting money into, and that'll handle everything on its own. Is that?
Yep. And then the second part of his question, you partially answered, but also I think you probably have something to say here. What are your views on the investment return for passive whales versus the long-term appeal of SPS for smaller players?
Well, I guess I don't separate the two. Like we want, I would want as much money coming into the product, so then it will encourage hopefully everybody to want to accumulate more of the assets. And to the extent that there's an imbalance or something, we just want to make sure that everybody at every level, at every spend level, is incentivized to earn and hold or use as many of the assets as possible. So I don't really differentiate in that respect.
Right. And I would add, the part about the long-term appeal to holding for smaller players. I mean, as Matt said, SPS is SPS. If you believe in the long run, the governance token of this project is going to be valuable, then, whether you're small or large, you'd be crazy to sell it if you thought it was going to be worth a lot more. Obviously, if you think it's not going to be worth more, then you can sell it. But then if it is worth a lot more, then you can't be upset about it, right? Like, it's everybody's decision. They can do whatever they want. We try to do a lot of things that create value for SPS. And, we'll continue to do that and continue to make even more. So,
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, yeah. My personal opinion is like for a newer player, at least, or someone who's, interested in participating in the game over the long term, it would probably be better to, sort of reinvest your winnings into more assets in the game, right? In order to then be able to build up more assets over time and kind of can have a snowball effect. So that would be, what I would do is, I'd maybe, burn my SPS to get more glint or spend it to get escalation packs or whatever. I think that will be the best way to grow your account if you're interested in participating in the game over the long term, which is obviously different than something for a whale who might want to hold a lot of SPS, rent it out, whatever. So I guess that's the way I look at those two situations differently.
All right. Next question from Anuki. And the part of the Anuki part of your question is like a negative, like you're framing you're framing the question in a way that is trying to make a point, which I don't particularly need to repeat. Anybody's free to go look at that. But essentially, you're asking, what about the DAO being able to sell, Hive or the Hive tokens and how that affects the ETH. And it seems like you're upset that we have, Hive stuff and that we don't have ETH. And my answer to that is that's really a DAO decision. So whatever the DAO decides to do, is what the DAO decides to do. That we don't really have anything to do with that. So, if you don't like a decision that was made, the one thing that I think a lot of people don't think, which they should, is like people make mistakes. People vote for things they don't, they wish they wouldn't have. But at the end of the day, everybody, whether you're small or large, is always going to vote for what you think the right thing would be. Nobody goes in to vote to sabotage the project. So if somebody voted, for instance, to sell ETH or not sell ETH or whatever the case may be, they would do it based on what they thought the right thing would be. So whether you're big or small, like everybody's going to do that. So if you don't like the fact that a decision was made, like that's like Monday morning quarterbacking. Like, of course, there's going to be mistakes that are made, but if you feel that change should be made, that's where you want to just get a hold of people and, see if you can get a proposal up to change the way it's going. That's it.
I can say a few things on Hive in general.
Sure.
Because I know, at least in the past, probably still, a lot of people are concerned or worried about the game's reliance on Hive, and if Hive goes down or whatever. I mean, obviously the game we operate and run on the Hive blockchain. The Hive blockchain has been around for a very long time, since 2016, which is practically forever in the blockchain space. So regardless of what the token price of Hive or Hive dollars doesn't affect us at all as a company, as a product. So that is no issue. I mean, obviously, if the token price does well and it gets more people interested in the blockchain, that's helpful. But we are not heavily invested in it. It doesn't hurt our finances. It doesn't affect the operation of the game. The price of the Hive token, and I see no realistic scenario where the Hive blockchain stops operating. In the real worst case scenario, I mean, obviously, I'm one of the top block producers on Hive. We know how to run our own Hive nodes. Like if really no one else was running the nodes, we could still run them, so the game would still operate. So there's really nothing to worry about from that perspective. And some things to keep in mind also is that when the DAO, I think, decided to make an investment in the Hive tokens, that was also alongside the Hive DAO voting to give about $400,000 to the company, which was extremely helpful, getting us through a difficult period. So it's important to. I know that was a while ago, and sometimes memories are short, but the Hive blockchain really did come together to help support Splinterlands. And I don't know if we would be in as good a position today if that didn't happen. That's it's good to keep in mind.
Yep, agree. All right, now we're in the Q&A official part. Intrepid Surfer question: what's the timeline plans for the next core set? Would you consider a special boss fight only in land worker cards and packs? The first part on the timeline plans for the core set. We're planning on making sure we're trying to make sure the set is available to be released early in the year, right? So when I say early, second quarter, maybe early third quarter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's when it's going to come out. So there's two things: one, us making it; two, it actually being released. I'm working right now with Clay in trying to come up with how in the past we come up with concepts for the DAO to fund, part of the set, and then, have a plan, like what's the distribution and how is that working. So right now I'm in that process. I'm speaking to Clay. We're going back and forth. What can we do? What should we do? Blah, blah, blah. So I think it's a little too early to really answer that, but that's going to be part of the discussion, like what would make the most sense. And I could also tell you that the way that I look at it, I would like the whole community to start looking at it this way, and that is set cycles. So, we have a pretty well-defined process where we have a main set, we have a mini set, or promo card, whether it's called a mini set or promo cards, it's a supplemental set. And then we also have reward cards. So those three are primarily the things we sell and provide, and are huge output. It's huge output for us as a team. So in those discussions with Clay, I'm talking in terms of set cycle as opposed to any one thing. Like to me, we just finished the set cycle, or not completely finished because we'll still have more cards coming, on voucher cards and stuff like that. But that's all part of the set cycle of Conclave Arcana. Then we're going to move for the Battle for Pretoria. What is it called? Battle for Pretoria. Is that right, Nate?
That is the going name right now. Yes. Okay.
So assuming that stays the name, we're now, planning and discussing, with Clay, the future edition or, series or set cycle for Battle for Pretoria. So I would imagine we'd like to get it wrapped up here probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So Clay and I are working hard, and then, assuming me and him can come together with, what we think would be good, he'll be talking to, people in the community. Obviously, I'll be talking to the team, and we'll try to come up with something that makes sense. And if we do, then it would turn into a proposal. And then if it passes, then we'll have a much better idea of that. The second part of that question, and for some reason I lost where I'm at. Okay, what do we consider special boss fight only and land worker cards in packs? The answer for me, as Nate could probably tell you, or Gator, I'm pretty much open to any idea, right? Like, that sounds cool to me. So I have considered land worker cards and packs. I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to it, so I would certainly need to think it through more. But I do think that, like, anything's possible, and both of those things, special boss fight only cards and land worker cards, both of those are cool things. So, whether we distribute them in packs or other means, I definitely like that idea. I like what you're thinking. So, and by the way, Matt, if you want to chime in on anything, feel free, or anybody else for that matter.
All right, sounds good. I agree with you in the generally, like, we're usually always open to most ideas.
Yep, exactly. All right. Next question from You Lose. I can't get used to your new name there, You Lose. But does the company Dow own a ton of cards? Matt, you could probably answer that better than me. I know we have like 30 grand in a promo account. Do you know of anything else that we own?
Yeah, not off the top of my head, I would say there's not a ton of cards, but there's some stuff.
Yeah, I think there's like 30 grand in some wallet that we have that we can use for promos of some of the old stuff. But remember, most of our stuff, like for instance, the Conclave Arcana packs that just finished, we didn't get any of those. So, we have no Conclave Arcana. I don't even think we have any Rebellion. So
I think we have 45 standard packs.
Is that what we have for it? Did we buy those though, Blaze?
Yeah. I had some DEC in the giveaway account, and I grabbed some, so we had some to give away.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past the company has, given ourselves packs and things for promotional purposes, but in the past few years, the DAO has been the one selling the things, and the DAO has been the one that's gotten things for promotional purposes. So we do have some things from back in the day that could be utilized, but generally, it's for the DAO. You guys know what packs the DAO's received from previous sets and from Conclave Arcana, and then those can be used as the player community wants.
And I would say that one thing that we're doing going forward, which we did on the land card that is coming up, we are going to reserve like 5% of the non-premium, like the non-super, special stuff. Like, it wouldn't make sense for us to take those. But, for instance, that land card, there's 60,000 that are going to be craftable. So 3,000 in addition will be, given to us. But when I say given to us, not like Matt and Dave get to stack up their account. They're going to be put in what we're calling a treasury, a team treasure chest. And, essentially that's just going to be an account where these cards are going to reside. And over time, Blaze can use them for marketing. So he can either, put them in contests or, all kinds of stuff. But it's just, we're going to try to do that on a regular basis so that we do, like in the old days, we did put away some stuff. It would be nice if the team had a few things to give out. So, it's not going to be anything huge. And it's certainly, I think this led to whether we could do a nifty project with our assets. And the answer is no, we don't have enough for anything like that. Next question was already asked, Anuki. So he did copy and paste it down, but we already handled that. All right, Gathering, the Magic. The SPS burn for Double the Glut has been a huge success. Are there plans for any other ways to burn SPS for in-game bonuses, like guild SPS winnings for bonuses or burning S for land? I do agree that it's been a huge success. I'm open to the idea of other ways. The original idea came from the community. So gathering, I think that, like with the original idea, I'm happy to ask around. If you want to ask around as well, let's, put our heads together, canvass the community, see if it's something that they'd be interested in. And if so, I don't see why not. I think we're all happy to see, SPS, supply go down. Quantum Nachos, what's the Splinterlands company side of Invenium Games assets server freeze? We heard Agro side. Okay, so what's our comment about that? From the community packs, some of these games have been abandoned for at least a year. All right, so Matt, do you want to comment on that? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I know Aggie said it was like, the board decided, but I mean, the reality is Agro's been paying for that out of his own pocket for a long time now. He's been, literally doing everything he possibly could to make that successful and keep it going. And, I just don't think he's able to do that anymore. So, he basically said that was the case. And then the decision at that point was to shut it down because Splinterlands certainly is not in a position to keep funding it. So that's, it's unfortunately the case. Agro really went very above and beyond to try to do everything he could to keep that going for the people who were participating in that. But, there was only so much he could do.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure I don't miss anything. So Matt, you addressed how the board came to the decision. Some of the games. I mean, as far as the project being abandoned, I mean, he ran the project. It was on. It had trouble gaining any traction. People can say, he didn't do this or that right, and obviously it didn't get traction. So it's quite possible that that's correct. But at the end of the day, like Matt said, I mean, he was paying, to keep that project alive, this whole time. And at some point he said, I don't want to do this anymore. So that's kind of where we are. And as Matt said, like, I'm here to manage, Splinterlands and to help support Splinterlands to succeed. That's my main focus right here. So, that's it. All right. So, and Intrepid Surfer, since the new guild building artwork looks like it's on land, will the new guild building need land resources to construct for construction upgrades? The answer is no, it won't need land resources for construction upgrades. Nate, is there a reason why that artwork was from land?
It wasn't from land. It was more like, hey, we use land as the inspiration for the artwork. So if you look at the current land buildings, they're very retro looking. They don't look as polished and as beautiful as land buildings do. So the decision was made creatively. Hey, going forward, as we continue to redesign guilds section of the website, we will one by one eventually apply the same aesthetics to all of the land buildings, not just the libraries. So just making it look nicer is all.
All right. So it's just a building on land, not our land necessarily.
Yeah.
But it is definitely the plan with, further guild upgrades that, I've been working on designing to integrate guilds and land. So that is something that will come. I do really want to make sure it's not a situation where, again, we talked about guilds are really important for the new player retention. So we want to be able to integrate it with land, but not in a way where like new players are like, well, I don't have land, so I can't participate. So there's going to be, some of each. Some things where existing players that have land, or encourage new players who want to get land, can utilize it in certain ways. But then there's other ways, like players who are not necessarily participating in land can still help out their guild.
Yeah, the library is also intended to be a simple building that makes it easier for guilds to delegate around cards to their members. So we didn't want to make it particularly complex to build it up. So we just went with guild power for that one.
Yeah.
And we also didn't make it super expensive because, again, the goal is to try to encourage you to, like a lot of times you have a brand new player coming in. He comes in and he needs some cards, so you delegate him cards. Then if he doesn't stick around for very long, then you got to go figure out to go pull those cards back. It makes it a lot more efficient if we have a building where we can delegate them in, and then you can have somebody in your guild like actually actively go recruit without having to delegate all those cards every single time and then undelegate and all that. So it should just be a better onboarding experience, in my opinion. Like, I think most people that have been around a while probably have all the cards they need, or at least a big chunk of them. But really, for a lot of new people coming in, they really, like, they don't have the ability to go play, alpha beta phrase, for instance, or wild phrase, I guess. All right. Or even new phrase. All right. So, next question is Fallen Shade. You didn't put a question in front of it, but I'll go ahead and ask. I'll go ahead and pretend you did. So you said you have something to add on how do we plan on making the burning for double glint when the brackets are alive? The answer is A, that hasn't passed the brackets proposal. So until that does, we're not going to spend a lot of time, designing it out, at this point. But if it does pass, then we'll figure it out. And I would imagine it would work very similar to the way it is now, because in the brackets, if you're talking about modern ranked, there should be SPS in that. So it should work very similar. All right, next question from King A. What do you think the idea of increasing the PP value of cards as they become older? I had this idea when the topic of increasing PP value for cards leaving Modern was raised. Instead of just increasing the cards leaving Modern, he thinks a genius solution would be to increase PP on all the older sets by a certain percentage every time a set leaves Modern. If implemented, Alpha would retroactively get a big boost. This concept would lead to old cards not only holding value, but increasing value in time. I'll answer that, and then Matt, you can chime in as well. I have heard a lot of people give a variation on that idea. I think it's like I'm listening, to what people think. One of the negatives of that is it increases inflation, and the more inflation that you have, the harder it is to keep up. But having said that, I've seen variations of that, like taking it all the way through alpha, stopping at rebellion level. Some people want to do a percentage. Some people want to do just make it like 1% more each year. I mean, all of that can be there. Matt, I think your answer is you don't think it matters, but I'll let you speak for yourself.
Well, you're right that if we just go and start increasing the production values across the board, then all of a sudden everyone's going to start producing more resources, right? And it's just like it kind of get a little crazy. So if I'd say if we're going to go that route, rather than increasing all the cards, the previous cards production, we would just say all the new sets have less production by a certain percent, right? At the end of the day, it's the same thing, So if all new sets have less and less and less production on land, then the older sets like alpha and beta will be more valuable in that regard, without causing additional inflation of the land assets. But that's just my current thoughts on that. We addressed this last time what the initial idea was that cards that were currently in Modern would have a penalty on their production in land. Currently, that's 50% production. And then when they move off Modern, they would just go up to the normal 1x 100%. So that was the initial thought process. But otherwise, again, this is this type of thing that's really up to the community and the DAO to work out. That's the current plan right now, that Modern cards get a penalty and then lose the penalty as they go out of Modern. But if the community doesn't like that, we'll consider other options.
And I'm actively talking to different people about that. So, feel free to weigh in and continue to, like King A, you can be part of the people that talk to me about that particular issue. So I'm happy to engage in that discussion. But like Matt said, there is a path plan right now. We would have to have a reason to change it. And it would be kind of up to, feedback, essentially. All right, next, Nuki, it's a good question. So I'm actually very happy to answer it. Will the company survive until the next card edition? Will the team ask for deck from the DAO to work on the new edition? Or will it make a different proposal, since a lot of people complained about the deck recycle from the DAO to the team and from the team to the DAO? So there's a couple issues there. I'll start with the deck recycle part, because that's one that I believe a lot of people misunderstand. Essentially, we sell our product in deck. So that's, we also sell in credits, but a big chunk of our sales is in deck. So we have to pay bills. So those bills have to be paid not in deck, they have to be paid in US dollars. So at this point, our expense rate is roughly $2 million a year. Or if we have an 18-month cycle, that equates to a $3 million set cycle. As I told you earlier, we're going to have, I think of things in terms of set cycles. So if it's a 2-year set cycle, which some people want, then it would be a $4 million, expense over a period of 2 years. So we need that amount of money to spend. So if we sell our product in deck and then we get paid in the deck, or the DAO gets paid in the deck, at the end of the day, that deck has got to turn into at least the amount of money we need to operate the business. So that works out to, at the current rate, about $5,500 a day. So that's how much we spend, is roughly $5,500 a day. And therefore, if we sell something in deck, we're going to have to convert that deck into dollars. If we partner with the DAO and the DAO pays us in deck, then we will have to convert that deck into dollars. So that whole recycle discussion is misunderstood, because of course we have to recycle the deck, because that's what we sell, that's what people pay us in, by and large, a high percentage. So whatever the deal is going to require the so-called deck recycling. Now, the issue would be, is the team spending too much? Should we do less? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a whole different discussion, right? But in terms of, if we're going to sell our product in deck, then we have to be able to turn it into US dollars. So that mechanism is going to apply no matter what level of spending we have. The next part of your question is, will the company survive until the next card edition? And the answer is, I believe so. We have multiple alternatives on how to manage things. Let me think how best to put this. The cost to run our business, like I said, is roughly $2 million a year. And we have $3 million, because we're typically on an 18-month cycle. So it's roughly $3 million. Like I said, some people want to have $4 million. Right now, we're in a period in between. Like, we just finished the last thing we sold, which was the Conclave Arcana. The other thing we sold is a mini set, but the mini set, all the funds go to the DAO. So we did get paid the deck for the mini set. We got 1.2 billion, but of course, we've already got that, right? So now the question is, like, our next set, do we put our next set out, in the third quarter? Do we wait till the fourth quarter? Do we do next year? Like, whenever that happens would determine, how long we stay in business, right? So if we just said, all right, we're going to wait 2 years to do our next set, then of course we wouldn't have enough money to do that. But well before we get to that point, we have to assess and understand what the DAO is going to do or not do, right? So the DAO is its own entity. So the team knows what our spending needs are. Like, we know we need $2 million a year or $5,500 a day to operate our business. So the conversation I'm having with Clay is, let's just focus on the whole set cycle. So how much do we need? Well, we need $5,500 a day. Does the DAO want to fund that or not fund that, right? If they want to fund that and get the proceeds, of what we do, then, for instance, if we get the 5,500 and then we give all the set sales, then yes, we would stay in business, no problem, right? Now, the DAO would be essentially taking the risk that the company currently takes. So that's why we would know we would be in business, because the DAO would take the risk from us. On the flip side of that, maybe the DAO doesn't want to take that risk. Maybe the DAO's like, nah, we don't want to spend that amount of money on you guys doing the things you do, which is keeping the game running, doing the sets, the main set, the mini set, the reward cards. We don't care about, the voucher cards and all that stuff. We don't think that's worth that amount of money. And that's certainly the DAO's prerogative to say they don't care about that. So if that's the case, then will the team survive? Yeah, because we'll manage our business such that we do survive. So right now we're kind of staffed up to provide all the things that we provided. So you can look, like, I just ended, or just, this is my 1 year anniversary. I started in March of last year. So this is, 1 year, right? So you can see in the last year since I've been here, you can see what we've done. Like, anybody can objectively look at it and either be happy or not, but you can see the pace at which we do things, whether it's good, whether the quality is good, just because I've been here over the year, it's easy for me to say that. But, the point is, I'm not actually doing the work. The Gators and the Nates and the Blazes are doing all the work. But having said that, either the DAO's going to be happy, to fund us going forward, right? Or they're going to say, like, we don't need all that. Let's just make a couple sets, and, we don't care about customer service, and we don't care about card balancing and, all the different things that we do every day. And if that's the case, and if the DAO doesn't want to support us, like, they don't have to, my job as the CEO, right, and the COO is to put us in a position that we do survive. Because in my opinion, the most important thing is that all the people that own assets, me, everybody else, everybody here, everybody in the community, like, we're all in this, not everybody's in it for the long term, but the good chunk of people are in it for the long term. So my responsibility is to make sure that we move forward as a business, right? And that we give people comfort that Splinterlands itself is going to be around for the long term. So whether the DAO funds us or not, my plan and my goal and my commitment is to do everything I can to make sure, we're going to survive. How and what that looks like is going to depend on the degree in which the community wants to help or not. If the community doesn't want to participate, at all, then I'm going to have to make decisions that are different than if the community did want to support us. So that's it. Does anybody else want to chime in on anything? Or I'm happy. I know that was somewhat long-winded, but all right.
You covered that one.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, question from CS Cable. Since Aggie shut down the project, will we need to help those players that got affected? So my feeling on this, and I knew I was going to be asked about it, my feeling on this, like, I'm one of the players affected. I think there's a lot of people in the Splinterlands community that are affected. Obviously, I don't like losing money. I don't think anybody likes losing money. I also don't like, I wasn't here when all those decisions were made. But having said that, I still like believe that, our goal, is to make Splinterlands succeed, period. Because if Splinterlands doesn't succeed, then all those kind of questions are mute, right? It doesn't matter. If Splinterlands goes out of business, then nobody in the past is going to get anything, because if Splinterlands shuts down, it's like the engine that drives everything. If we succeeded, if we did well, like Aggie said in his explanation to people, like he's putting it, essentially he's putting it in hold or on ice or mothball. I forget the exact term he used, in hopes that we have a better time in the future. So obviously, if we have a better time, kind of like how 2021 was, and everything in the market's popping and everything's going well, like I would think that it would make it would be something that could be dealt with. At this point, like there's no way. Like my focus is making sure Splinterlands succeeds. If Splinterlands doesn't succeed, there's no way we can go help any other project, whether it's Soulkeep, Invenium, or any of that. But if Splinterlands succeeds, my personal opinion is I think it would be smart and helpful and, the right thing to do to try to figure out how we could revive, and bring some of those projects back, if in fact we had the ability to do so. Having said that, that's a lot of ifs. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Matt.
I was just gonna say maybe they could be added to the Crypto Gaming Recovery Fund. Right.
That's out of our like the Crypto Gaming Recovery Fund is not controlled by the team. There's actually a committee on the DAO that actually makes those decisions. So that's a whole different thing. But as far as us, I'm going to focus on Splinterlands, because if Splinterlands isn't healthy, it's not going to be able to help anybody. So my goal is to make sure we continue to produce things, that we continue to, put out good product, that we continue to drive demand, that we figure out and solve the new player issue. Like we do need to figure out how to get more new players and keep them. So those are all the issues that, I'm focused on. Sure, down the road, I would love to be able to, like I personally had, like particularly Arcade Colony. Like I had a lot. I was probably a top 10 holder in that. I like the concept, but like zero chance that I want to focus on that right now. Splinterlands is 100% my focus. All right. There is a lot of comments, so I'm just going to get to the next question. So if you had a question buried in there without question, re-ask it.
I don't know how many questions there are, but just given the time, we may want to cut off new questions to make sure we can get through everything.
Okay.
I don't know. Bestie wants to post it. Oh, there you go. No more questions. There you go. So we'll get to everything that's already been posted up to this point.
Okay, cool. All right, Gathering the Magic question. With so much going on here, are there any plans for future game formats beyond Modern and Wild? As we get more and more sets, we can add, excuse me, man, this definitely hits your throat after a while. Add format blocks so that older sets stay in demand, like Chaos Legion format, a Chaos Riftwatch, an Eternal format, blah, blah, blah. 100% agree with you, Gathering. I'm a big fan of that. We actually are in the process of doing that, even though it's a little more less obvious. Like last year, we added Frontier Mode, which is obviously a new format. This year, for sure, we're going to be adding, like some of the PvE components, like what Matt was talking about on the campaign, the boss mode. Like that will actually be a mode. And yeah, I think there's a lot of ideas that people have, and similar to like what we talked about earlier. Like I love talking about that stuff. So, feel free to message me and give me your ideas, and then we'll get working groups together that we can talk about it and You know, one of the things I think is super exciting about the brackets and I know not everybody agrees with me, but we're going to figure out how to make liquidity bots work properly. Like we already have done it in ranked play. Like in ranked play, liquidity bots are working just fine for a relatively long period of time. So our experience has gotten better every time we try to expand it and do something new. There's always some, growing pains that we have while doing that. So, we're kind of in that mode right now with survival mode and 11 brackets, but we went from 1 or 2 modes using liquidity bots to 11. So that's to be expected. Will we figure it out? Yeah, I'm confident we will. And then as we figure out how to do that, then that's going to empower us to be able to do other modes. So I'm perfectly cool with figuring it out, figuring out like what are some fun new ways to do things. So I think the answer is yes. Whether it will be this year or not, I don't know. But it's certainly stuff that we can start talking about. Max Malding, we can follow incoming players from the spellbook cells, but do you have data on leaving players? For instance, players that have not logged in for 30 days. We do have that information, not exactly in a shareable format. I can tell you that we have less players today than we had a year ago. Even though we had a bunch of people sign up on average, I would say 150 a day. So, if you take 150 a day times 365, hard for me to do the math in my head while I'm trying to have other thoughts. At the 50,000, I think, have signed up. And the fact that, I would say the bulk of them left, so we have a quick revolving door. So they come in and they leave really quick. We've been doing a lot of things to fix that. And the wheel spin is probably, in my opinion, is going to be one of the better ones that we're doing. The frontier mode actually helped a lot as well. Like we've retained a lot of people through that. But we still have more work to do. So, we have a natural attrition. But one thing that's great about our company, and a lot of times, we focus on the negatives. And, like some people would say, like, for instance, Aggie, I heard somebody say in one of the comments here recently, like he was always like positive and optimistic. And people have said about me, I'm more, less selly, about things. But at the end of the day, I just try to be realistic. I look at both sides of everything. And, on the negative side, we have not cracked the, how do we attract and retain more players? Like we've actually got the attraction part down all right. I mean, I'm happy with 50,000 players, that have come in and signed up and, made an account over the last year, but I'm not happy with the amount that have stuck around, right? So we certainly have a lot more work to do there. But on the flip side, on the positive side, we actually outsold Rebellion with less people. That's pretty impressive, right? In other words, we have less people, but we did more sales. So what that tells you is, number one, we have an incredibly awesome community that believes in us. Number two, our product improved, right? Like there was a reason why people wanted it, whether it's from the extra foils or the gameplay, or the artwork or, whatever. Like people reached into their pockets and pulled more out per person that is here, which is a plus, which I guarantee a lot of games out there wish they had that. So that is one thing that is huge and important and really not talked about much. So I'll give a little hype there, in that we're a premium game and people, are spending money on it that other games wish they had. As soon as we figure out how to get the incoming funnel working properly, the sky's the limit is the way I look at it. So I don't think I gave you a perfect answer there, but Malden, feel free to, message me if you want any more data. I'm happy to try to dig it up for you. Gathering question, PvE campaign for Foundation or veteran player updates? Okay, on the PvE campaign for Foundation, that with what Nate showed you earlier, we're going to have a wheel spin, and on that wheel spin is going to be a thing. I think he's calling it a pit master. We called it overlords in the past. It'd be just a one battle type thing that you win a chance to do on the board. We may have something where you can pay some of your sparks or glint or SPS or whatever. Like we may have a way to buy some special matches if people like it, but for the most part, it's a prize that people win. That's expected to, it's in development now. Best guess is about 30 days. So figure, mid-April to late April is the goal. But you never know when you get into all the art and the UI and all that's done. You're not sure exactly when it's going to pop out because you don't know what kind of issues the devs are going to run in with. Like, is the wheel going to spin properly? Like, we've never done a wheel, so we don't know. So the goal is hopefully have that done, mid to late April. And then as far as the veteran players, being able to have access to the wheel, like I asked a couple people, like, hey, what do you think? Do you think the wheel should be over in rank play or in other spots? And the answer is hell yeah. So, we certainly realize it can be done. I do believe it would be awesome. We've already got ideas for how it could be used, but let's first get it in and working first before we do the second part. Like once it's developed, it's not hard. And then as far as the PvE part of that, the Overlords or the Pit Challenge, that is easier to do on Frontier mode because there's many less variables. They don't have as many abilities. It's not as complicated. There's not as overpowering cards. So we're going to learn how it works on that and then, see if we made mistakes, fix those mistakes, use that knowledge to then make the PvE campaign, which Matt discussed earlier, which is the big boss monster battle. So they're both coming. One's kind of a prerequisite for the other, and then, but they're both super high priority. So coming soon. Shade, why doesn't SPS need XRP? Doesn't move 1% each season reward? Make more incentivized to stake. Also, staking requirements should be somewhere in the game, not on Clay's Excel picture. I don't really understand that question.
I think he's saying the amount you need to stake to get a certain amount of reward points. You know how like the more SPS you stake, the more reward points you get as you play. Like the more that you get stuff in battles.
And he's talking about just regular ranked play?
I think so. And he's saying like, should that increase over time?
Over the whatever the 12% or whatever we get when you hit a certain number.
Well, he's just saying like, should it require more? Like, so like right now, if I have a certain amount if I have 1 million SPS staked, I don't necessarily need any more. I continue to get rewards. He's saying, should I need to continue staking more and more and more?
Yeah, I would say staking SPS in gameplay is one of the big use cases for SPS. Governance vote is another big use case for SPS. Staked SPS is a big deal for the fortune draws. Depending on how those things are important to you will determine how much further you go. My philosophy is, as a guy who has, double-digit million, SPS, I don't have enough. So I don't, if Vuctus was asking the question or Brave, then maybe, they need more incentive. I don't know. But, in my opinion, I don't have enough. So I would imagine most players don't have enough. So, between all those different use cases, I think there's a benefit. But if you guys have more, let me know. And if it's also, I think the part about the not on Clay's Excel spreadsheet, that may mean like it's not displayed properly from a UI standpoint. If that's the case, just message me and let me know your thoughts there, and I'll be happy to talk to Nate about that.
Yeah, I generally, I don't like the idea of increasing SPS requirements, or it's not really a requirement, but just needing to have more for the same level of stuff. I really want to, I look forward to a time when potentially SPS prices increase, potentially significantly. We'll see whether or not that happens. But if we do something where it takes more and more SPS over time, we're going to get into a situation where new players are just completely priced out of it. Which, I guess for existing players who have a lot of SPS, that kind of sounds good, but really it just ends up destroying the ecosystem, right? We're always going to need new players coming in and being able to compete and not feeling like they can never catch up. So I think that's always, at least in my mind, is if we do things like making sure that it doesn't get to a situation where new players just can never catch up. And we have a few things like that in the game currently, like the guild buildings upgrades, for example, that we'd like to address. So that's how I think of that.
Yep. I agree with that too, by the way. In other words, the goal is to make more people access our game, right? And like Matt just said, if we make if we do our job and SPS, goes up, the idea would be to actually make less SPS needed, at some point, so that we can attract and retain more people.
Which, if I could add, is the whole concept behind the DEC token, by the way. It's a way we can require people to, hold or spend tokens in the game, but without having to deal with the price fluctuation issues that come with SPS. So like generally the whole idea behind the design is everything should really take DEC, should, stake DEC on land or other places, spend DEC for everything. And then obviously SPS can be converted into DEC. And that way, the pricing, at least in dollar terms, will be fixed. So it will never be a situation where new players coming in are priced out, because it's the same fixed pricing as everyone has always had. Obviously, that's been difficult, of late as things have been going down. There's been a lot of situations where the community has wanted to specifically focus on SPS, which is fine. But just since the conversation came up, I wanted to remind everyone that kind of is the purpose of the DEC SPS relationship.
All right, cool. All right, Zeke, tea or coffee? Me, water. Matt?
I mean, if I had to pick between the two, I would do tea. I don't drink coffee, but yeah, mostly water for me.
Gator?
Yeah, tea, given the choice.
Blaze?
Coffee.
Nate?
I'd go with tea.
All right. I think we got everybody. We did. All right. And then you're welcome. Thank you, Zeke, for what you do. And also thanks a lot of people in the community. Like, there's days where I'm a grumpy old dude and I get on people. So I recognize that. And for the people that, just so you know, pretty much everybody, I've been a grumpy old dude too, at one time or another. So it's never personal. But I will say that the community itself, on the balance, like I'm motivated. I love the community. I love doing the stuff we do every day. So don't let the fact that I've been grumpy every once in a while, like I super appreciate what you guys do, and you too, Zeke. Thank you for, all the meetings and all the times you come in and say, cool things to people. So, and that applies to a lot of people. So thank you guys.
Probably a footnote that we've got questions on Twitch, and if we got this far without jumping over to them, maybe we should jump over to those real quick.
Yeah, I have him. I was just waiting for him to finish up here, but we're running low on time.
All right, well, go ahead and ask them then. So I don't.
I'm going to drop him here. You can see him here.
Do we have to keep the soul? I'll go quick. Try to move down quick. So, Crypto Beaver, do we have to keep the soul keep tab in Splinterlands? I mean, do we have to know? So, if enough people ask me to take it away, I guess I'd consider it. Do we have an ETA for the launch of Book 2, a campaign? Would that launch coincide with the new Frontier pack so we can add new cards? A little too early for both those questions. I mean, the questions are fine, but the answer is no, not on the horizon with all the other stuff we have going. But yes, both of those are in the works, just, a little further back. Johansson, any plan to make the benefit for gold and black foil and foundation or frontier mode? The answer is not at this time for frontier or foundation, but I will say that the gold and the black foil do give the benefits in regular ranked play, whether it's wild or modern. So there is a benefit. It's just there's no need for it yet in frontier or foundation, but down the road there could be.
I'd also like we're planning to have benefits for the updated guild brawls, which will also have like phrase for foundation cards.
Yep, cool. All right. Gathering, a lot of games have microtransactions that generate huge income for the company. Any plan for adding them in game? We are actually in the process of doing that. You have seen them, whether you maybe people haven't noticed them, but everything from skins and songs to cards that are sellable to auction marks to all those things I consider to be microtransactions. And we do have plans, yes, for other things.
Also, the games that generate huge income for them also have like tens of millions of players. So yeah, add microtransactions across tens of millions of players is huge income. Very small transactions across our thousands of players, not the same.
Right. But I still like doing it, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not meaningful, I do think it's good to have that there. And Anuki, you're welcome. Thank you as well. All right, no more questions. All right, so now where is it? Where am I looking for the Twitch questions? We still got 4 minutes.
On this call, on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Maronius at the bottom of the screen. Yeah.
All right, there you go. See, I was looking at the Discord. All right, so on this call on the screen.
From Erroneous there. I can read it out if you want. See it?
Yeah, why don't you read it?
Yeah, it's for taxes on refined resources. Are we getting a percentage of the refined resource, or are we getting a percentage of the deck fee that was paid to make it? Or is it TBD? Or is that?
If this is a question about buildings producing resources, and if like you rent out your building, I think the idea is that the owner of the building would get paid out in a percentage of the refined resource, because it may not necessarily require DEC as an input. So the person would put in the input resources, produce the output resources, and then the owner would get a percentage of the output resource. But that's still subject to change. This is all part of the little details I mentioned earlier we're figuring out, but that's how I have it in my mind right now.
All right, so can I ask it in my mind the way I think about it? So if I make 10,000 widgets right on your buildings,
yeah,
what you're saying is like there would be a tax of, let's say, whatever, 100 widgets, and that 100 widgets, part of that would go to the castle owner, something like that.
Well, I guess yes, for the keeps and castles, but also if I'm letting you use my building, I can set a fee, right? So if you're making 100 widgets on my building, I might set 10% fee. I get 10 widgets.
Gotcha. All right, cool. See, I didn't even know that.
Okay.
This one's for you, Dave.
Okay.
Need some more traction? May I suggest Splinterlands Town Hall TikTok staff intro dance via Bolts?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I agree. And since I do have that Rusty Android song that was made, maybe I could fire that sucker up.
All right, Dave dancing to Rusty Android. Stay tuned.
AzirCon's the best, though. I don't know if you guys have seen the AzirCon. They did do a TikTok for AzirCon. I think Jangles did one. That was really good.
That was funny. All right, I think that's about it. I'm going through. I know, Lady Sharon, you have some questions here, but I think you're just kind of asking yourself in regards to increase for the when we're talking about the percentage increases on alpha cards and such. But no, I think that's about it.
Yeah, and then the usual reminder: post your questions in the town hall channel. I wait a little while for the discussion to die down. The team will try to get to them before the next town hall.
Great. I'd just like to jump in and say real quick, like, our game is at a different point than we were a year ago, and a lot of things are starting to come together. Just like I was saying, I was talking about the partnerships and stuff. We're getting to a point where all that stuff makes sense. Even like the campaigns that we run with Clink, and we have something for the new player, right? Before it's, we were more of a premium game, but now we kind of are setting up the game to host many different, playing levels. So we have the free to play, we have, the premium players that are collecting the high end cards, and we have everything in between. And we're trying to cater to all of them, and little by little, we're getting there. So our game's going to have something for everybody. And I can't own everything. I know Dave can. Dave, do you even have a castle yet?
Yeah, I have a castle. Yes.
Okay, maybe he's cool, but I'm not cool, and many others aren't cool. And yeah, we can't own everything in the game, and there's just so many avenues. And I'm like, I'm looking at duplicates, and I was like, maybe I should sell the duplicates so I can get some of these land cards. But we're at a good point right now. We can't own everything, and I think that's just how it's going to be. So find your lane, find what you like playing out of the game, and have fun playing the game first, and then everything else comes second.
Yeah, and the quality is like absolutely unbelievable. Like I said, the cards themselves look beautiful. The foils look beautiful. I mean, I don't know how many people have told me how much they really like those black foils, how they really pop, with the backgrounds. And then, the gameplay itself, like a lot of people that are generally critical, like they'll tell me like, hey, that's a lazy or that sucked, are coming back and saying, hey, this set is really fun to play. I mean, those are the kind of things that matter, and they might not, immediately translate into, 10,000 people are going to join us tomorrow because like that epiphany, right? But over time, it's what's going to separate us from everybody else, and it does build, right? Like people, you can see the quality of the project. And like, for instance, we just had the end of the set sale. I mean, people were legitimately like rushing, including me, to get as many packs as I possibly could, because I know there's some just awesome damn cards in there. So
yeah, and our secondary market sales are doing very well, and I'm watching the back end. When I get some time, I'll go in and take a peek, and I know a lot of players are collecting alpha cards and beta cards, max gold foils that are being sold by other players, and other players are scooping them up, and it's just fun to see the collectability. And people are putting those towards land. Some people are playing them in survival. It's fun to see all the movement we have going on right now. So fun, good stuff, everybody.
Yep, agree. Yeah, and thanks again to everybody in the community for being here. We wouldn't even be in this position if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you to the community. Thank you to Dave for everything he's done over the last year and is going to do going forward. We will be back in a month. I don't know, since we had to change this one from an evening to an earlier one, maybe we could do the next one in the evening for those of us who couldn't join today. But we'll figure that out. We'll let everyone know, but it should be on Thursday, April 16th. We'll talk to everybody again. And thanks, and hope everyone has fun with all the updates in the meantime. Talk to you guys in a month.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.